It's time for Morning Soulshine with Bridget, a podcast where we interview people who express their stories of triumph. I'm your host, certified life and mindset coach, Bridget Gibson. You're listening to Morning Soulshine with Bridget, and on today we have a very special guest. Actually, she's going to be our host for today. We are so excited to have with us Kandis McBride. Kandis is the mother of 3 beautiful children. She's the founder of 7 Purple Petals, a nonprofit domestic violence awareness organization. And we're just so excited to have you with us today, Kandis. Welcome, Kandis McBride.
Well, hello, Miss Bridget. I would like to thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of your platform. My name is Kandis. As Miss Bridget stated, I have 7 Purple Petals domestic violence awareness organization. I founded 7 Purple Petals in October of 2016 when I finally took the big step to leave my very own domestic violence situation. I grew up in domestic violence. I've witnessed domestic violence. I've seen my mom have her leg broken by a partner, so to say. I held my mom in my arms after she had been shot multiple times by her then husband. I witnessed him in that very moment commit suicide under the impression that he had killed my mom. The very first time I ever experienced my own domestic violence, I was in the 8th grade. Watching my mom go through it my whole life, I'd always said that I would never be that person. I would never, ever allow a man to put his hands on me. Well, 8th grade, you wouldn't even think things like that would occur in 8th grade, but the boyfriend at that time, we junior high argument, and he slammed me up against the locker. I continued that relationship up until maybe a little bit into high school. After that relationship, I entered in another relationship that I was in for 9 years. I started that relationship at 16 years old. That relationship was full of violence. If a week went by and we didn't have a fight, that was a perfect week in my relationship. It was a constant fight. I can remember times from that particular relationship to where I was beaten so bad, one of my kidneys was damaged. I went to the doctor because I was afraid. So I went to the doctor. The doctor did, see all the bruises and asked me what was going on, but I didn't report my boyfriend at that time. I actually lied to the doctor and told the doctor that it was somebody else that had done this abuse to me. And they asked me, did I want to press charges against this person and all that? And I came up with this lavish story to where this made up person wouldn't get in trouble or the cops wouldn't go looking for this person. I continued that relationship. Finally, I just got fed up, and you would think that it would be all of the physical altercations that made me fed up and made me leave that relationship, but it wasn't. I had gotten very sick. I had bronchitis. I would cough so much. It was hard for me to breathe. And we had gotten into an argument, and he had hid my medication and my eyeglasses. I'm a person, I cannot see without my glasses. I cannot see my hands in front of me. That was my breaking point. So you would think after the kidney damage, the black eyes, the swollen lips, I would leave. I left because he hid my eyeglasses and my medication. I was the type, I was separated from my friends in this relationship. So when the relationship ended, of course, I relinked with my friends. My friends were the type of girls that they were good time girls. They can meet a guy, have a good time or whatever, and then it's nothing. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to be that person. I've never experienced this. This is what I want to do. So I ended up sending a Facebook message to a guy that I had gone to junior high and high school with. Him and I communicated a little bit on Facebook, and he would constantly say, I can't wait to see you. I always thought that you were the perfect person and all this. And of course, we're all grown. So he was like, and I want to sleep with you and X, Y, Z. Okay. So one night I went out, I went bowling. I was never the club girl. So the bowling alley was what I would consider my club. They played all the latest hits. It was a dancing atmosphere. There was a bar in the bowling alley. So I considered the bowling alley my club. Got drunk one night at the bowling alley and I sent the message and I was like, well, you know how I always say one day we'll get together, we'll sleep together, whatever. I was like, well, today is your lucky day. It's like, are you serious? Yeah, I'm serious. Meet me here, whatever. So me and the guy met up. My intentions was for it to be a one night stand. I started communicating with another guy that I had gone to school with. It was nothing sexual in the beginning. Him and I we were just communicating. We were friends. And the guy that I had the one night stand with, he had sent him a message on his Facebook wall. So I was thinking, okay, well, these guys are friends and I'm not the type to have secrets, or I don't want any type of confusion or something to come out later on. So I told the guy, I said, oh, you and such are friends. I said, him and I hooked up at one time, but it was never nothing more than that. And I guess him and I, we're on good terms, but it's never going to be anything more. So, and this person became my kid's father, the second guy. Him and I, we would hang out. It was perfect in the beginning. We talked about everything. Of course, I let him know all of the problems that I had in the 9-year relationship. So everything the guy didn't do in the 9 years, my kid's father came along and he did everything. It was perfect. In my mind, it was perfect. I would go to church and members in the church would be like, oh, Kandis, you look so happy. You have a glow about you and all of this. Of course, that was the beginning. We all know that the beginning is the honeymoon stage and everything is peachy and creamy. So I find out I'm pregnant, and this is like maybe two months within dating. So it happens fairly quickly. So I find out I'm pregnant, and we were out at a store one day and I see the guy that I had the one night stand with. So I speak and it was like, hey, how you doing? Nothing more, nothing intimate, anything like that. We leave the store and me and my kid's father, he was driving around. He was very angry. He was yelling. And I was like, it's nothing like that. We're just friends. It's nothing. We pulled into the Home Depot parking lot. And we sat in the parking lot and he was yelling. He smacked me. He hit me so hard. This was the first time he physically hit me. He smacked me so hard, my head hit the car window. I didn't react. I was like, okay, well, maybe I deserved that. Maybe I was too flip about the situation with the guy that I had the one night stand with. Maybe I shouldn't have told him, that me and the guy are friends. So I took that as if that was my fault. So from there, I stayed, I was pregnant. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay. We're going to work this out. I have brothers on my dad's side. I go visit my dad, see some brothers, some guys from the hometown, everybody's speaking. We're all laughing. We're talking. Again, another car ride home. He hits me again. Keep in mind that I'm pregnant. It was so bad. I was hit so many times. I was stumped in my stomach. It was said that, oh, this baby not mine. You're nothing but a whore. I'm going to make sure you don't have this baby. It was so bad that auctioneer had a room prepared for me. I would go to the hospital at least once a week. They knew I was coming. They never knew that I was coming because of the abuse, but I was going because I was bleeding. I would always bleed the whole time. So auctioneer just knew at some point, Kandis will be here bleeding. They had a room prepared. I have my first child. I'm assuming, this child is going to make him change. He's not going to be this person anymore. He's going to do the right thing. I was at my apartment one day holding my baby. I breastfed my kids. And so I would pump their milk into the glass bottles. So I was feeding my son one day, and he had come home. And I mean, the town we live in, you're going to run into people. So he had run into the guy that I had the one night stand with. So he comes home and he's like, "Oh, that's his baby, this, and this. That's his baby, and you want me to be taking care of this baby," and all types of stuff. So he takes the glass bottle and he throws the bottle at me, and it hits me in the eye. I take it as nothing but the grace of God that caused the bottle not to shatter when he threw the bottle, and not to hit my baby, because I was holding my baby at the time. So at that time, then he grabbed a knife and he was like, "I'm going to kill you. You don't deserve to be here. My child." Then it goes to my child. My child doesn't deserve a mama that's a whore and things like that. Like literally trying to stab me with the knife. Next thing you know, it's like a light switch, and he just changed. He just went to this. He was crying. It was, "I'm so sorry. Look at your eye. Let me get something for you. I can't believe I did this. I almost harmed my child." So he goes to work the next day. His mom comes by to the apartment. I wasn't opening the door, but she knew that I was home. So she called and she was like, "Kandis, open the door." She never knew anything was wrong. So I opened the door. And immediately when she sees me, she goes, "You need to get out of here." And at that point, I just broke down. I was like, well, I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have any friends. He has my family thinking that I'm the one with the problem, that I'm the one that attacks him. But if we rewind a little bit, he set my baby's car seat on fire outside of my mom's house. And still, somehow, he had my family thinking that I was the problem. So his mom takes me from the apartment, me and my baby, and she asks, "What do I want to do?" And I said, "Well, I want to leave. I'm tired of this. I don't deserve to go through this. I really want to leave." So she asked me, did I want to press charges against him? So I was like, "No, I don't need to do all that. I just want to leave." So he comes to his mom's house. His mom wasn't letting him in because I was there. So she didn't want him to come in and attack me again. Well, he pushes through the door. He pushes his mom over, and he somehow gets to me again. So at that point, we call the cops. The cops come, the cops arrest him. The next day I go and I do the restraining order, all that. Well, he gets served with the restraining order, and then it's, "I'm sorry, I want my family to work," and all this. Well, that didn't happen. I get pregnant with my second son. So I'm like, okay, so now we have 2 kids. I know for a fact he is going to change. He's going to do what he needs to do. He's going to make the family work. No, again, beaten the whole pregnancy, stumped in the stomach the whole pregnancy. Then one night we were in the apartment, and I was putting my youngest son now into his baby bed, and a rock hits the apartment window. So he goes, "Oh, so that's how your dudes contact you. They come by the house and they throw rocks at the window to get your attention." He hits me upside my head with a gun while I was placing my baby in the bed. And he then began to stomp on me once I fell on the ground. I managed to get up and I sat on the bed, and he hit me again. And at that point, that was the moment that I was just like, I do not want to live anymore. I said, I don't want to live. I was like, my kids don't deserve this type of life. they'll be so much better off without me. So he got on the bed and he began to choke me. I didn't fight back. I just laid there. At one point, I don't remember anything from that point. Then I come back to, and as I'm coming back to, all I hear him saying is, well, let me grab my kids and get the F out of here. I think this bee is dead. Just let her lay here. And he leaves. Finally, I'm all the way back. I'm all the way back awake. I called the cops. The cops come. He's not there. They're his kids also. There's no custody thing in order. So it was basically just a waiting game until he comes back with my kids. I leave again. I do another restraining order. I go to the court. And the way you sit into this waiting area, the prosecutor comes and talks to you, asks you about the situation or whatever. So he walks up to me while I'm talking to the prosecutor. And he was like, you need to drop this restraining order. And so the prosecutor asks, she was like, can you leave? I'm trying to have a conversation with her. Can you just leave away from her? So he walks off, and then I tell the prosecutor, I'm like, I want to drop the restraining order. Because in my mind, if I don't drop this restraining order, he is going to kill me. There's nobody outside of this court that's going to protect me once I have this piece of paper. The piece of paper is just a piece of paper. And it replays in my mind because that's how my mom almost died. She got a restraining order. And at that time, my stepdad told her, the restraining order is just a piece of paper. If I want to kill you, then I'm going to kill you. It's nothing that piece of paper is going to do. And sure enough, that night, he came into the house through the patio door with his intent to kill her. So I said, okay, so I'm just not going to do this restraining order, and it's fine. Well, he ends up going back to jail, of course, because the violence, it continues. The violence just goes on. He comes home. I'm trying to talk to my family. I'm like, he's coming home. I don't want to be with him anymore. I made up my mind. I don't want to be with him. I'm all the way done. So a family member tells me, you're just saying that. When he comes home, you'll be pregnant again. So he comes home. He breaks into my apartment that I'm in. I contact the cops. By the time the cops come, he's not there. So it's nothing that they can do. He comes back a little later into the night. He comes back. At that point, he begins to try and sleep with me. I try to fight him off. Of course, me fighting him off isn't working. So a month later, guess what? I am pregnant again. Find out now that I'm having a daughter. I leave and I'm like, okay, I'm having a daughter. I don't want my daughter to grow up in this. So I hook up with this lady who provides shelter for domestic violence, people going through domestic violence. So she gives me a place to stay. She works with me on getting the rent payments. So I have a brother on my dad's side, and I contact my brother and I'm like, hey, can you come and help me get some furniture and move it to my new place? I'm moving. I'm done with my kid's dad or whatever. Well, that night when my brother comes to the house, he has my kid's dad with him. He has my kid's dad. So I'm like, no, why did you bring him here? He shouldn't be here. So again, we start the process. We're calling the cops. I'm going through all of this all over again. June 15th was my daughter's 1 year birthday. My daughter's 1 year birthday. I try to do the birthday party thing. for my daughter. Everything was fine. He was trying to be a part of that. Well, June 16th, we have another fight. It was my oldest son graduation from the Head Start program. So I go to the graduation. When I get home, for some reason, he's angry. He attacks me. We fight. I'm like, okay, well, I have to leave now. I go and get my grandmother to come with me to my house. And I'm like, okay, if for any reason, if he pulls up to this house, I need you to call 911. I just need to run in here. I need to grab some things for my kids, and I need to grab me something, and then I can go. Well, I don't know where he parked his car at, but it was like I was living deja vu. He came into my house through the patio door, the same way my mom's husband came in. He came through the patio door. He ran towards me. He attacked me. He was beating on me. My grandmother came into the house. She was trying to stop him. He pushed her over. Finally, a neighbor was able to come in and kind of restrain him. I was able to leave. So at that point, I was like, okay, I am literally in my mama's shoes, and I am about to die. So I contact to get another restraining order. I get my restraining order. I talk to the domestic violence advocates at the DA's office. They go through the files and they're like, Kandis, this is dangerous. He is going to kill you. So at that point, the DA's office put me into like a witness protection type thing. They would move me and my kids around every couple days. They would move us around because for some reason he would find me. No matter what, he would find me. He would come to my job and cause a scene. It was to the point to where we were in the office with all the doors locked. I worked with a bunch of older, retired military guys. They were in the office with their guns. Like, it was bad. During this time, we were also going through custody things with the family court. So my kids weren't visiting him as they were supposed to. So I'm in court. And he tells the judge, I'm not going through with the visitation like I'm supposed to. And the judge tells me, I'm the one going through the abuse. I'm the one that the system is supposedly protecting. The judge tells me, if I ever don't follow the custody agreement again, I am going to get locked up. And I'm going to get as much time as the law permits me to get for being held into contempt of court. My advocate says she's in protection. The judge replies, that doesn't matter. I gave an order. There's a custody agreement. He's trying to harm her, she says, but he's not going to do anything to the kids. Keep in mind that every single time he attacked me, my kids were with me. I was holding a child sitting next to me. I was pregnant every single time. But this judge says, I say that he's trying to harm me, but he's not going to do anything to the kids. So I need to abide by her custody, what she put in place. Okay. So by the grace of God, he ended up getting incarcerated that day. There was a warrant for him for breaking the restraining order. So they ended up picking him up in court. So that it really put a bad taste in my mouth for the justice system when it comes to victims of domestic violence. And you wonder why so many women stay in the situations they stay in, or you wonder why it's never reported. It's because we are made to feel as if we're doing something wrong. The judge literally told me I can't be that afraid of him because I keep going back. But what you don't understand is I keep going back because if I don't go back, he is literally going to kill me. but they made it seem as if I was the one. He would generate text messages through his phone to make it seem like I text him. He had these nude pictures of me that was taken of me, then like moments when like I was in the shower and was never a picture that I sent to him. It was things that he always would take if I'm not paying attention. Sent these pictures to my job, every single person in my company. I work for a big company, every single person. It was the embarrassment. And then going to court and having these nude pictures of me shown in court. And it's like, well, why did you send this to him? You're leading him on. Ma'am, I didn't do any of this. But I was made to feel as if I was the bad person. So after going through all of that, I was like, I have to do something. I have to be a voice for these women that's afraid. I have to be the one to speak out for these women. I have to let these women know that somebody has your back. Somebody is not going to judge you for going back. Somebody is not going to get tired of hearing you say, I'm tired of this. I don't want to be with him anymore. And then you're back with him next week, but you call back. Somebody isn't going to judge you because somebody understands the shoes that you're walking in. That's the reason I started 7 Purple Petals. I have to be that voice for the women. I have to get a collective together to say that domestic violence shouldn't be handled through the family court. Restraining orders in regards to domestic violence shouldn't be a family court issue. That is a criminal issue. When someone tries to choke you out, when someone beats you in the head with a gun, when a person just beats you in the head, it's criminal. It's not a family court matter. And every single time I get ready to do a speaking engagement, even right before coming to be a part of this podcast with you, Miss Bridget, I started having nightmares. It's like something just saying, you shouldn't do this. This isn't what you need to be doing. I would have nightmares. I can't sleep. I would wake up in cold sweats, but I have to do it. I have to push through. I have to get this done. And I kept thinking that we say that we're survivors of domestic violence. We're not survivors. We're surviving. Maybe not. Maybe there's therapy. There's something in this person that makes this person feel as if this is the way they're supposed to treat a person they so-called love. You're supposed to physically attack. So we're surviving. We're not survivors. We're surviving because 9 times out of 10, our abusers are walking around free. As survivors, we say that we're free once we leave the situation, but we're not. We're trying to just make it through the day. And with that being said, I'm going to close out by reading a poem that I wrote entitled, What is Freedom? What is freedom? What makes us free as a victim of domestic violence? Why do we continue to wrestle with situations when, according to book terms, we are free because we've left our abusers? The visions, the nightmares, the memories, the moments that broke us play on repeat in our minds on a daily basis. The slightest sound or change in tone immediately brings us back to the fear, and it shakes us to the very core of our souls. So what is freedom? What makes a domestic violence survivor free? Some say telling our story of survival will save someone else from going through the same awful moments. Some even say telling our story will bring us peace and it allows us to cope. But does it really? Is that what it really means to be free? Constantly speaking and remembering the pain. Does that sound like freedom? To be honest, to me, it sounds and it feels as if we're living in an internal hell. So again, what is freedom? What makes a domestic violence survivor free? Maybe coming together and speaking out will cause a change. The key word there is maybe. Who has the backs of survivors? The system says it's over. The system says we're free. But are we free? From my eyes, as a victim, I see my abuser free. He is free to never admit or take responsibility for the mental and or physical hurt and emotional pain that was caused by his hands or words. He is free to make the decision as to what charge best suits his life. He is free to move on like he wasn't the cause of trauma, not only to his victim, but to loved ones also. He's free to walk around like he's not the cause of black eyes, broken bones, and innocent souls lost. So what is freedom? What makes us, the survivors of domestic violence, free?